The Chicago Cubs offseason is here, and the front office trio of Jed Hoyer, Craig Counsell, and Carter Hawkins have big decisions ahead. We'll highlight who from the roster is hitting free agency, review the 2025 production, and ask who should stay and who should walk. All of that and more coming up right after this. All right. Welcome in, Chicago Cubs Central family. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Mike Jones, back again with another episode of Chicago Cubs Central, your number one spot for all things Chicago Cubs. Listen, I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in and joining in and talking with me. Thank you guys so much for your interactions in the comments below and voicing your thoughts. Remember, here on Chicago Cubs Central, the voice of the fan lives. Please make sure that you're commenting below, leaving your thoughts on each and every episode that you tune into. Now, with that being said, you also can leave me a voicemail, and we can do a voicemail episode, a mailbag episode at 217-816-5498. That's right, 217-816-5498. Go ahead and leave a comment, or you can write me at cubsbaseball1992 at gmail.com. Would love to have somebody reach out through that avenue too, as well as some of the comments that you leave down below. If they're really been interesting points and we can generate an episode around them, hey, why not leave those thoughts there too? So appreciate you guys so much. Everybody on Spotify, everybody on X, everybody on Twitch, everybody that's checking out everywhere. Appreciate you guys. You mean the world to me. Thank you. Now, with that being said, it is free agency time. And as much as we love to talk about who are the new free agents that the Chicago Cubs could potentially sign, guys, we have to take a reflective moment and look back at 2025, the production of the team, as well as what the team accomplished, but more so our own team players that are heading towards free agency. Also, guys, there's a whole slew of them. Obviously, everybody knows the biggest story of them all is, will the Chicago Cubs re-sign Kyle Tucker? Will they or will they not? Can't wait for that saga to be over with already. With that being said, you also have to look at other pieces like Brad Keller, like Caleb Thielbar, like Taylor Rogers, like Michael Soroka, like Ryan Brasier. Sorry, I said Brasier. I don't know. But again, like I said, for me, you look at these pieces and you say to yourself, what do they bring to the Chicago Cubs? Kyle Tucker, we already know, guys, he is the top free agent for the Chicago Cubs. Again, he has already wiped clean his social media of everything Chicago. None of his pictures have him in Chicago Cubs gear or anything like that. He is officially a free agent and ready for the winter meetings, as well as to be offered contracts and make a decision as to where he wants to go play baseball next. Again, his future is just uncertain. Brad Keller, after that, he had a strong year for the Chicago Cubs. Probably going to end up coming back. I foresee the Chicago Cubs probably bringing Brad Keller back. There is a lot of potential there to keep. We'll dive into that into the next section. Next up, Caleb Thielbar. That's right. He was a left-handed relieving pitcher for the Chicago Cubs. Solid bullpen arm. Left-handed bullpen depth was an issue for the Chicago Cubs. He brought a lot of relief for the Chicago Cubs this season. One problem, that man's old. Oh, man. Let's put it out there. Like I said, how many more elite years does he potentially have? And what type of contract is he going to get offered? Remember, Caleb Thielbar was a solid piece for the Chicago Cubs bullpen all season long. They were able to depend on him game after game, night after night. And he came through for the team and really gave them that spark every single time. Probably had two bad starts. Really, the ones that stick out, there was the Seattle game and there was the Giants game of 2025. Outside of that, most of the time, Caleb Thielbar was pretty reliable for the Chicago Cubs. Taylor Rogers, left-handed pitcher. He was acquired at the deadline. And I definitely think he's somebody the Chicago Cubs probably will end up retaining. Michael Soroka. Woo! That is a story in and of itself. He is a right-handed pitcher. Was We got him from the Nationals, was starting, but also was pitching relief too for the Chicago Cubs. Really hit that weird spot where I feel like they brought him in to be a starter, traded for him to be a starter, but then Michael Soroka ended up getting injured, missing a bunch of time coming back, basically being a bullpen piece after that. So, I mean, again, he's a right-handed pitcher. And then Ryan Brasier. Again, he was short-term trade. He was a relief piece. And we'll just kind of see what he comes from after that. But these are the main pieces I want to focus on today. I definitely think that these guys are pieces that the Chicago Cubs have to make a deal for. Like I said, they are pieces that they have to either choose to make a decision on whether to re-sign, or whether to trade. So next up, let's talk about it. Who should stay? Who should go? Well, for each free agent listed, like I said, here's my criteria. If they stay, if they provide value relative to cost, if they fit the timeline of what we're trying to do, and if they feel a need. So we're going to look back at what they did in 2025 to tell you, kind of project and see if we can figure out what they might be in 2026. They go if they cost too high, decline in control, if they're an injury risk, or if they're blocking young talent. So these are my things that will keep me from keeping some of these pieces. Now, first and foremost, Kyle Tucker. Let's get it all out there on the line. And there will also be a Kyle Tucker, a personal Kyle Tucker episode where we just talk about his stats and what he meant to the team and grade his 2025 season. However, according to my own standards that I set here. So again, remember, stay if they provide value relative to cost, fit the timeline, and fill a need. They go if they cost too high, if they decline in control, if they're injury risk, or if they're blocking young talent. I look at Kyle Tucker, guys, and I say to myself, Kyle Tucker is going to cost too high. I don't know that he'll decline in control, but he is an injury risk. And he is blocking young talent. There are multiple young players that could be playing the outfield for the Chicago Cubs. And in my eyesight, I look at the grand scheme of what the Chicago Cubs are trying to do. I look at, how so many of you out there were clamoring for Owen Casey to get playing time, clamoring for Kevin Alcantara to get playing time. Well, I mean, listen, in order to do that, somebody's got to leave. And Ian Happ has one more year of control. Like I said, he has a no-trade clause. So, hey, doubt the Chicago Cubs move him. So it looks like Kyle Tucker's the odd man out in this, which is unfortunate, but also understandable. It's very understandable. So in my eyesight, go Kyle Tucker. And it's not necessarily that I want him to go, but it's just that he is blocking young talent. He's going to cost too much. He does fit the timeline of what the Chicago Cubs are trying to do, but again, he also is an injury risk. And so these pieces here kind of lead me to believe that Kyle Tucker just is not going to fit in with what the Chicago Cubs are going to do moving forward. I expect him to potentially go to the Dodgers or the Phillies. One of those teams will probably offer him an amazing deal. I would love for him to go to Boston, and we don't have to see him but once a year. Three games, but once a year, versus him, like I said, signing with somebody in our division or somebody that we got to play twice at home and away, and God forbid he goes to the Dodgers. Like, I would lose so much respect for Kyle Tucker if he did that, but we'll see what happens. Now, there'll be a whole nother episode to talk about Kyle Tucker in the future, but let's move on. Brad Keller. Brad Keller is a right-handed relief pitcher for the Chicago Cubs, had a very, very, very strong year. After the All-Star break, this dude went on a run that could only be described as incredible, not giving up a single run in about 18 or 19 appearances for the Chicago Cubs in the second half of the season. He was somebody that you could absolutely depend on, somebody that could absolutely get you outs in a game, and somebody that you knew was going to come through with that flamethrower of a pitch and get strikeouts. So with that being said, he provided value relative to the cost. His contract was not super expensive. He does, once again, he is a little bit up there in age. I believe he's around 33. He does fit more of the timeline, and he does feel a need. I'm voting we keep Brad Keller. He's a right-handed reliever. This dude's filled in, and actually, once Daniel Palencia went down with injury, began to close for the Chicago Cubs. Again, that's somebody that brought high value to the team. He's somebody definitely that I would like to bring back. Caleb Thielbar, left-handed relief pitcher. He was a solid bullpen arm. He was a left-handed bullpen. Left-handed bullpen depth was an issue for this club. So having him really brought another piece to this team, another piece to this bullpen, and he was able to get outs. He does fit a need. Again, he does also provide value at a relative to the cost. I don't know that he fits the timeline of the team. So to me, I look at Caleb Thielbar and I say it has to be the right price, probably another 1-year deal if we're going to re-sign a Caleb Thielbar. That's just my thoughts. All right, next up, we have to talk about Taylor Rogers, left-handed relief pitcher. Again, he is somebody that is low on the priority list, probably for the Chicago Cubs, somebody that will probably easily re-sign back. I would like to see what Tommy Hotovy could do with Taylor Rogers and see if he can make him into a deadly left-handed reliever for the Chicago Cubs. He's likely a low priority to retain, but also somebody that the Chicago Cubs will obviously give a look at, and potentially if they can get him on a cheaper deal, they will retain him. But again, if the cost is too high, they will let him go. I would say go if I had to choose. Taylor Rogers, just not high enough on the priority list for the Chicago Cubs. We'll see what happens though. Michael Soroka. Michael Soroka is a interesting, is a very interesting piece for me because again, the Cubs traded for him, and I want to see what he is and what he can be for this Chicago Cubs team. He is somebody that I look at and I say to myself, he could potentially be a really good pitcher for the Chicago Cubs. He could absolutely be somebody that of value to the Chicago Cubs, but he's an injury risk. And that brings up the piece where I'm not willing to spend high money, especially when there's other areas we need to fill, when I know the Chicago Cubs can find value or field value for the bullpen. So in my eyesight, I look at him and I say to myself, if he's going to want a decent sized contract, then he is somebody that I'm willing to let go of. But if he's willing to come back on a team friendly deal, willing to give him a shot, he can maybe service the Colin Ray position where he is somebody that is a fringe starter, or if somebody goes down with injury or needs a spot start, then he is able to handle that. Having a piece like him and like Colin Ray be able to do that for the Chicago Cubs is not a bad thing at all. I like having extra pieces like that can do that for your team, especially to straighten to string out a season and make sure that you get all that you need. Last but not least, Ryan Brasier. Ryan Brasier, to me, was short term. He was a trade relief piece. He can go. Ryan Brasier, to me, looked like he was on pace to do something great. But against the home run ball and giving up runs and stuff like that and walks, I'm okay with him not being a part of the team next season. So again, we will talk big picture and the Cubs strategy after these messages.
I have been talking ad nauseum, and I still will continue to talk about the product, the brand that has changed my life and can change yours too. What's that product? It's Dubby. It's an all-natural energy supplement that you can take on the daily to help you get through those urges, those moments when you want to nap, then when you hit the cliff, or if you had a long night the night before and need to get through another crazy day of the hustle and bustle, the 9 to 5, whatever you got going on, Dubby is your energy drink. That's right. Not to mention, when you buy a container of W, it actually equals out to almost $1 per drink. You can mix it in with whatever you want, whether that be a juice, whether that be a water, whether that be some type of other energy flavored drink, whatever you want, you can mix W with it and it will do the trick for you. Guys, I don't understand what you're waiting on. W takes care of everything for you. All you have to do is go on to the W website and place your order. And at this time, when you do that, all you have to do is put in Cubs Central Pod 2024. That's right, Cubs Central Pod 2024. And you get 10% off on your W order. That's right. Hey, listen, guys, I'm telling you right now, Jitterless Energy, they have all different types of different flavors for you. W has what you need. Be better with W.
All right, so last but not least, we want to look at the big picture for the Chicago Cubs and their strategy. So how these decisions reflect the Cubs' strategy under Jed Hoyer and Carter Hawkins. So listen, guys, the team in itself, we have to understand we have budget constraints. We know Ricketts is not willing to spend a crap ton of money, not willing to deal with the different tax brackets that go into different things like this. And then obviously the rebuilding versus contending now. The guys would much rather use the young players and have roster flexibility than sign back some of these older players. So what we have to be prepared for is some of these older guys that may not come on cheaper deals. They will more than likely probably have to be they will be gone. So I mean that's just kind of the reality of what we're looking at. But is the offseason a make or break for the Chicago Cubs? We talked about it last year. Go ahead and heading into winter when I took over the channel, and now we'll talk about it again. Is this offseason a make or break for the Chicago Cubs? What do we think the Chicago Cubs are going to do? I'm excited to see what they're going to do and excited to see what this team can be and how they're going to fill out these rosters. You guys got to remember, there are so many questions. You still got guys that you got to either tender deals to or guys that you have to guys you have to figure out if you're going to pick up their options, such as Andrew Kittredge, where you have to pay him a certain amount of money. So there's a bunch of different open roster spots for the Chicago Cubs. I am so enthralled with how the Chicago Cubs are going to fill out their 40-man roster. I have a vision of how I hope it goes, but then again, I'm just one person, and I'm not the boss, so it's not my team. So we'll see what the Chicago Cubs decide to do. But hey, that's my episode for today. I appreciate you guys. Please get into the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on what you believe the Chicago Cubs management team is going to do to try to bolster this roster and get us a 40-man team. I appreciate you guys. Until next time.
Thank you for watching another episode of Chicago Cubs Central, the #1 spot for all Chicago Cubs content. Remember to like, share, subscribe for more Cubs content.